Tentativi ulteriori per legalizzare la cura furono fatti da diversi gruppi di pazienti che arrivarono a denunciare le autorità mediche per avergli negato una possibile cura per il cancro.
They're asking to be given the right to use SEX since orthodox medicine no longer has any answers for them.
You can't burn a cancer out of a body with radiation. You can't poison it out of the body without poisoning the body as well. And I feel that nature holds the answer, the only answer for cancer patients, and as such, we should have it. Our constitutional rights at the moment are being denied to us, and it shouldn't even come down to a court hearing. It should be a matter of fact that we have what we want for our body.
I have cancer from head to toe to the bone. You're going to try and tell me that if I think there's something that's going to give me a little bit of life, that I'm not going to try it?
Ma la risposta delle autorità è sempre rimasta la stessa, anche nei casi in cui i responsabili erano obbligati ad inventare le giustificazioni più ridicole, pur di non riconoscere la validità dell'ESIAC.
If we release Laetrile and ESIAC and Proibite and so on, I can give you a very long list. You'll have a very wide choice. Then when there is something effective, how will you know which to choose from?
A scanso di equivoci, qualcuno pensò addirittura di evitare che in futuro la medicina venisse usata da dottori che magari ne riconoscessero l'efficacia.
As it's well known in the state of California, the state legislature actually made it a felony for a doctor to use any than the accepted methods of treatment for cancer, and they named them in the legislation: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and cobalt. And when doctors are hemmed in like this and their very livelihood is threatened, they're not going to be anxious to step out of line.
Sfinita da queste battaglie per lei assurde e incomprensibili, René tornò semplicemente a casa sua e continuò a curare i suoi pazienti fino al giorno della sua morte, avvenuta nel 1978. Un anno prima, un folto gruppo di ex pazienti decise di fare a René una sorpresa per ringraziarla di tutto quello che aveva fatto per loro.
Ex-patients and supporters arrived in Bracebridge, Ontario. They came to help Reen celebrate her 90th birthday. They have experienced the benefits of ESIAC. Many of the people here feel they owe their life to Reen.
Brought the two ladies up here that day in the house.
She doesn't know me. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
I have given my life for it. I couldn't give any more than that. God's been good to let me live this long, to see it used. And used by people.
Molto simile alla storia di René è quella di Harry Hoxsey, un uomo d'affari texano che aveva ricevuto dal padre una formula di erbe che si sarebbe rivelata altamente efficace contro il cancro. Al contrario di René, Hoxsey aveva molti soldi, era un combattente nato e non aveva paura di nessuno. Questo ha gettato le basi per una delle più prolungate, virulente e appassionanti battaglie fra un cittadino e le istituzioni mediche nella storia degli Stati Uniti.
The trouble began with what seemed like good news.
And we now have in our files and our records many, many thousands of case histories and records, pathological proof, X-ray photographic studies that we do positively cure cancer, both internal and external. I give you names, times, dates, names of doctors, names of institutions.
The doctors labeled Hoxsey the worst cancer quack of the century. But Hoxsey's supporters called him an effective healer, persecuted by a medical trust.
But up to now, they have never proven that this treatment don't cure cancer.
The ex-coal miner with an 8th grade education became a legend in his own time. According to the Hoxsey legend, the remedies were discovered by his great-grandfather experimenting on a sick horse. As the story goes, John Hoxsey was a veterinarian whose prize stallion got cancer. He put it out to pasture to die. But 3 weeks later, the tumor had stabilized. He observed the horse eating unusual plants, not part of its normal diet. Within a year, the horse was well. So John Hoxsey began to experiment on animals with the herbs, and he added other popular home remedies. He claimed success and passed the formulas down through the family, who eventually used them on people. Hoxsey said his father was the first to try the medicines on people. He gave young Harry the formulas with a deathbed wish to make the treatment available to people whether or not they could pay. Prophetically, he warned the boy against the high priests of medicine who would fight him jealously. It didn't take long. Hoxsey started his first clinic in Illinois in 1924, and he immediately incurred the wrath of organized medicine. He was arrested more times than any other man in medical history. Yet by the 1950s, the Hoxsey Clinic of Dallas, Texas was the largest privately owned cancer center in the world. Hoxsey clinics reached through 17 states. Endorsing the treatment were senators, judges, and even some doctors. 2 federal courts upheld its therapeutic value. If the treatment was worthless, how did it gain so much support? To claim a cure for cancer is to invite evaluation. While the medical profession turned its back on Hoxsey, numerous individuals did make personal investigations. These experiences repeatedly turned skeptics into believers. Among them was Esquire magazine writer James Wakefield Burke, who in 1939 began covering the Hoxsey story.
My boss, Arnold Gingrich, one day said, "Why don't you go down to Texas and let's expose this fellow. He's getting too big." And the American Medical Association liked to put him out of business, and said, "You go down and get acquainted with him," and says, "We'll do a couple of pieces on him and put an end to this." So it was an assignment. I came to Texas. I expected to stay about a day, get my information, and leave. I became fascinated. I stayed for 6 weeks. Every day, Harry would pick me up, bring me to the clinic. We'd come in the morning, and he would put his arm around these old men and women, say, "Dad, them doctors been cutting you up." Says, "I ain't gonna let them sons of bitches kill you. You're gonna live." And he'd treat them, and I'd watch him treat them. They'd get better and begin to get well. So I wrote an outline for a piece which I called "The Quack Who Cured Cancer." And I sent it back to the editors, but it never came out.
Assistant District Attorney Al Templeton was more than a skeptic. He arrested Hoxsey more than 100 times in 2 years. Then his own brother, Mike, got terminal cancer and secretly went to Hoxsey. When Mike Templeton got well, Al Templeton gave Hoxsey the credit. Hoxsey's prosecutor became his lawyer. More and more people kept supporting Hoxsey's claims of a cure. His boldest promoter was Christian evangelist Gerald Winrod. His radio broadcast reached millions of listeners with sensational reports of Hoxsey's mounting successes.
I wish to begin this broadcast by reading for you what I regard as a very important statement, and I quote, "Judge W.L. Thornton, this is the second jury of 12 men that has found in my court that the Hoxsey treatment cures cancer. 10 doctors found that the number of cures reaches into the thousands. Former United States Senator Thomas studied a large number of cures. I had made my own investigation, had satisfied myself that cancer was really being cured by the Hoxsey method." This humble reporter can only say, God bless these quacks, the only quacks who are curing cancer today.
But a new cancer treatment needs more than personal investigations to gain acceptance. It needs a formal scientific review.
And when I say to you, all I want is to have them come here. The American Medical Association, the Pure Food and Drug, the federal government, anybody, come here and make an investigation. And if I don't prove to them beyond any question of a doubt that our treatment is superior to radium X-ray and surgery, then I will lock the doors of this institution forever.